better life. Let's make it real. This is a better life. From scars to stars, from pain to bulletproof, to reach a better life. A better life with you. Talking news, pop culture life, love and scandal, heart to heart. No playing small, we rise, we fall, we laugh, we do it all. A better life is one brave call to raise a better life. Let's build a better life. Let's build a better life. A better life to raise a better life.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's see. I can't hear myself. I'm not. Okay, there we go. That's better. I can hear myself now. Hopefully you all can hear me. Good afternoon. Happy Monday to everybody. I have been in research today, looking at some things. One of the big questions we've been asked, a lot of the big questions. Who was Charlie Kirk? Was he really a good guy? Was he in on any of this, fraud? Was he involved in any of this corruption? Was, how good, if we can judge people based on who their friends are, is it accurate to say Charlie's friends weren't exactly great? They weren't clean, allegedly, and they aren't doing things by the letter of the law and in complete transparency. Say hello in the chat when you get here. Candace goes on at 4:15, so we have a little bit of time to discuss Charlie. So she had, let me see if I can send this picture to my laptop. She had posted a picture, I believe it was on Candace's show, when she had posted this picture of Charlie Kirk with Tyler Boyer at the 2017 inauguration. And let's see if I can, first of all, let me do this. Get ready to share my screen. Yeah, let's see, American Horror Story. This is one. Here we go. Okay, so I'm ready to share that screen with you, but she had posted this or put this in one of her videos. Let me see if I can do an image file share. So you guys can see this. Charlie Kirk. So that hand signal, she's asking, what's that hand signal exactly? I'm gonna do this too, hold on. I want to edit this view. How can I edit this? Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to edit this, guys. See, maybe I don't want to do that just now, but anyway, okay, I'll figure out how to do that later. But she showed this picture and she's like, what is that hand signal anyway? Does anybody have any idea about what this hand signal might be? I am going to try to edit this. Oh yeah, that's one person. There we go. I can edit. Okay, I can edit this, and I want to. That's not what I want to do. bear with me as I try to move this the way I want it to look. Really. Because I've not been liking how when I am sharing my screen and I've got Candace and I on there, I don't like it that I have to cover up my face to show her video, and then when I show your comments, it doesn't really show that well. And my face doesn't show that well on there, which I do want. Anyway, okay, so let's try this. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Say hello in the chat if you would. And I'm going to, anyways, I'm trying a new layout here. So I'm remembering how Candace showed this picture of Tyler Boyer and Charlie Kirk at the 2017 inauguration of Donald Trump. And she was asking what this hand signal is. And so I was asking you guys if you know what that hand signal is. I also have been looking into who Charlie Kirk is, like what were his beliefs, and was he Christian initially? So there's a lot of different there's mixed messages I'm getting that on, doing research online. Of course, I feel like AI has gotten a little bit worse because they're tweaking it to make sure that they only provide answers we want. Do you guys ever get concerned about that? AI turning into only giving us what we want as opposed to what we dig down into and research and find for ourselves. That's a worry of mine. So anyway, this did look like a mudra. It looks like a Buddhist symbol, or like what is that? Yeah, one of those I'm going to type this in here. What? And my keyboard wants to give me issues again. I hate this thing. We're so real. I just don't like this. Okay, time for a new keyboard, guys. Anyways, that hand signal. Anybody have any ideas of what that might mean? Index. Okay, it doesn't want to switch. Okay, come on, work with me here. Work with me. Index finger connected. Touching thumb, symbolism. I had to reboot my computer just as I was coming on here. So anyway, I'm going to share this with you real quick. Do I have time? I have just 5 minutes. It's a yoga, so it can mean unity, self, universe, divine, divinity, Trinity or Christ, scripture, Christ divinity. It can be a universal sign for balance, energy, to promote focus. In Hinduism, it symbolizes the universe holding itself and magnifying itself. So I've been researching these different symbols, trying to figure out what that could mean. And of course, we don't know. We're not in that inner circle of knowing exactly what that meant to them, right? But I think it's something. Rubbing coins, rubbing the fingers together like this can represent, money. Obviously, it's the connecting to the divine. Let's see what else it can mean. So anyway, so this led me to deeper into, is Charlie Kirk, was he a Christian? When did he convert to Christianity, or did he even? I know he was looking at Catholicism there at the end. He was looking into, of course, Judaism and all of that. But yeah, I don't know. I always look at these hand signals when they do them. So I'm gonna remove this here and go back to cancel. Okay. I'm just gonna remove that and add to stage myself. So hopefully you guys can see that, and I'm going to try to, let me see if I can adjust this again and edit to one person and make this smaller. So as I make these changes, I don't think you guys will see them necessarily until I hit enter. So just bear with me. I'm trying to figure this out, the best layout for us when we're watching the show. And let's see. I don't want to cover any of it. So when I show your guys' comments, it covers my face, which I don't want. But I also want to make sure that I'm not gosh, that didn't work out either. Okay. So I'm going to change this again. And I want to make sure that we can hear the sound too. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to move myself over here and update. Okay, so let's see how this works out. You guys can tell me if you like it or not. Say hello in the chat, please. Say hello. I love to hear from you guys. And did you read what Candace's show is about today? She says, last week we brought you an explosive episode about Liberty University. So when did Charlie's organization make a turn towards faith as opposed to the initial focus, which was free markets and capitalism? And it began with the Falkirk Center. So that's something I've been looking into today about his more of his religious beliefs and in history and background. I live near Chicago. I'm thinking about making a trip out to Chicago to interview some people. So he went to a school. His high school was out there. And I'd really love to know more and learn more. If I can get anybody to talk to me, I'm going to go head over in that direction so that I can interview some people in person, hopefully on the record. But I'd really love to connect with some of his old, teachers and stuff. Have any of you guys seen anything about that? I haven't seen any stories or interviews from old educators that were in contact with him, which I find really odd, because after his death we haven't heard a lot from the people he knows or the people who have history with him, other than TPUSA defectors, people who have left TPUSA and warning us about their corruption and all the stuff that they're into. So tell me in the chat if you have. I'm going to click myself off for 1 second here while I take care of something. Okay, so the other thing that I've been looking into today is our history. What does our history show, and what patterns does this indicate from our history of what they're doing with ICE when they've deputized, so to speak, when they've deputized civilians, and they have them do the job that traditionally the military and our police departments and our law enforcement agencies handle. What does that indicate? So it indicates a very deep running mistrust and distrust of our own government within itself. So the fact that he has had to do that Trump's chosen to do that, indicates that there is a breakdown internally, a major breakdown, not just a little one. Like, this is a major breakdown. And Candace is going to go live here, and economic issues and problems. I'll talk more about it, but I'm working. That's been something that I've been looking into, because I think our nation's in trouble. And Trump indicated that, the deep state, and he wants to drain the swamp, which he's not doing, but there's much bigger problems going on than we know. And I agree with a lot of other people commentating on the state of our nation, and that we are headed for war, but we are also headed for the collapse of the dollar, and they know it. So I want to make sure this volume's turned up here. On Candace, let's see. It is on mute. There we go. Anyway, so you guys, you should research that. Look into it if you can, if you have some time, into what the whole deputizing of ICE and all the agents and the civilians that they're training to do this, why they're doing it. There is a major thing that's going to break this year. And I think if you guys have heard about the lawsuit that's been brought against the Federal Reserve guy, what is his name? Head of the Federal Reserve. Yeah. Jerome Powell. I think they didn't want him to change, they didn't want them to change the interest rates, because I really do think they want to tank the dollar. That's part of this whole collapse that they want to do so they can rebuild. A new regime in the United States. The Trump regime. What do you think they'll call it? What would they call a Trump regime? They're so proud of Trump, and he wants statues of himself everywhere. I guarantee this is what's going on. Say hello in the comments. Also, hit the like button on this stream, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and also please hit the heart button next to the chat so that it alerts the algorithm that we're here and that people can watch. And
all right, you guys, let's get started. Happy Monday. You are not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. You probably will believe it at this point because all of it's so unbelievable that we now believe it. But last week, we obviously brought you a pretty explosive episode wherein we discussed Liberty University. Because when did Charlie's organization make a sudden switch? Suddenly, everybody's discussing faith as opposed to his initial goals focused on the free markets and capitalism. When did Charlie's organization turn into a church? Well, the answer, as we went backward, is that it began with him creating the Falkirk Center. And now I am going to reveal to you what exactly happened with the Falkirk Center. Obviously, scandal. Scandal which I now believe could have led to the fall of both men, actually, Jerry Falwell Jr. and Charlie Kirk. Plus, later on in the show, Megyn Kelly is saying no to the Israel lobby bullying. She gave a powerful statement to Tucker Carlson, who has just been declared an enemy of the state of Israel alongside little old me. I'm not kidding. Welcome back to Candace.
I think they have a lot more enemies of the state of Israel than just Candace, Tucker, and Megyn. They've got a lot of us. And I think this has to do, well, we'll talk about it more later.
You guys, let's just say that there have been a lot of misguided PR operations since Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I think that that is putting it mildly, right? A lot of PR blunders, so to speak. Let's see, there was a Operation He Wasn't Catholic Curious, followed by Operation Candace Hasn't Spoken to Charlie in Years, followed by Operation LOL Egyptian Planes, followed by Operation Debunk Mitch in Fort Huachuca with baby mama drama, Huachuca mama drama. That was a lot. And I guess what I really mean when I use the word misguided is that whoever is in control of these operations has a bit of a lead foot. You know what I mean? Too much gas on the pedal at all times. The immediate force that's being applied to these psychological operations, they go from 0 to 100, has sort of made the panic behind them pretty obvious to us, the public. It feels like there is someone who has a lot of money to spend, but maybe that person who is in control of spending the money happens to be an idiot. Like he's just phoning people up, like, I'll give you $600,000 and have that money transferred in your account with Bitcoin today. If you just say these words, Candace has gone crazy. Charlie wasn't Catholic. Mitch, his baby mama, he's a crazy man. Crazy. Everybody's crazy. The expression used in the UK that my husband uses is rich and thick. That's used to describe a dumbass who has a lot of cash on hand. Okay.
Thick.
Now, frankly, I have to say in retrospect,
Trump,
the weirdest operation of all, which still persists today in little pockets of the internet, was Operation LOL Candace Has Dreams. Why did she talk about her dreams? How dare she discuss her dreams? Only weird people have dreams and then tell others about them. Dreams are ridiculous. They shouldn't be listened to. So the question becomes, who exactly is making these terrible PR decisions? Like, who thinks, yeah, what we need to do today is we have to attack the dream. Just go at it and do not let up on the dream. I think I know the answer. I think it's someone who feels personally victimized by the dream. Show of hands, who feels personally victimized by Candace Owens' dreams? And to be honest, it's sort of hilarious that I didn't put two and two together sooner than today. So let's go backward, okay? In the immediate 3 weeks following Charlie's assassination, I was obviously in a haze. I'll be honest, I think I told you this before, but I was not sleeping, I was not eating, and I was having incredibly vivid dreams. I began dreaming like I hadn't dreamed since I was a child because it was every night. And to be honest, it was overwhelming. I didn't like it. I felt like Charlie was haunting me. It stressed me out. I expressed that to my husband through many tears. He told me that I should consult a priest, which I did. And we spoke about souls in purgatory. Anyway, today I feel that it is time to tell you the entirety of the repeat dream that I was having in those early weeks.
Nice.
It was actually a replay of an actual lunch that Charlie and I did have in the past. Back in 2018, Charlie and I went to Israel together. And in the dream, we were sitting in the exact same restaurant on a patio. And Charlie began the conversation saying something that he actually said, a real memory from that trip. Charlie was sitting on the patio and he was eating hummus. And he's like, "This is the best hummus I've ever tasted in my life." A dramatic oversell. I always feel there are certain places that people hype so much that when you go there, you feel like you have to pretend it's the best thing you've ever experienced. Otherwise, you sort of let yourself down. It's like, this is the best ever. And truly, I didn't love Israel. I didn't love it even when I was a Zionist because it felt dangerous. You could sense the Muslims hated the Jews. It felt like we were on a tour. People were sneering at us. I just didn't love Israel. I've expressed that many times in the past, but Charlie was getting into the character. It was the greatest thing he had ever eaten. Anyways, the setting of this particular dream, however, had one dramatic difference. We were not there for the opening of the embassy. And this difference, by the way, I don't really understand yet. I'm just sharing it with you. Instead, we were there in this dream setting for Bibi Netanyahu's wife's funeral. Again, that makes entirely no sense. I've never met his wife. I've never spoken about his wife. I know nothing about his wife. So that's just the context of it. I don't make the rules of dream world. And obviously, as we were sitting there, it didn't strike me as weird because when you're in your dream state, everything that happens for some reason feels like, oh yeah, this is totally normal. Anyway, Charlie said to me, "I don't have much time." He followed that up explaining to me that I needed to see what happened on his left. And he told me explicitly they betrayed me, multiple people. And I said, "I know, but who?" Then came the frustrating part of the dream. Every time I would say who, you know, when you're in a dream and you go who, or you try to speak in the dream,
or you're
and
trying
then
to
suddenly
see
you're
something.
actually speaking in real life and you start to wake yourself up from the dream by accident. That's what kept happening. And whenever I would try to listen to what he was saying, it sounded like he was underwater. So I was frustrated by this. I can't get to the part where you tell me who betrayed you. It wasn't until the third week after his death that finally one face came through in this dream. It came through as clear as day from around the corner of the restaurant. And it was Andrew Colbett's.
Yes, I knew it.
Now you have to imagine in the immediate aftermath of this, I was not thinking Turning Point USA. Where we're at today is almost like unimaginable going back there. In fact, I was very friendly with Andrew Colbett. We had spoken extensively in the aftermath of Charlie's death. I've known him for years. And I felt really weird about having seen him in this dream, but it was so vivid and it was so compelling that I felt that as weird and as odd as it was, that I had to text him and tell him what I saw. And this is the text, just sharing with you so you guys know if this all really happened. I said, "I rarely have vivid dreams, but I had one clear as day this weekend. Charlie came to me and he sat down and he told me that he did not have much time, that I needed to know that he was in fact betrayed and that they are hiding what happened to my left. I believe his soul is in purgatory, and I believe that you know much more than you've said publicly or privately." And
He
Andrew Colbett
had
never
to
answered.
have
Last time Andrew
freaked.
Colbett and I spoke.
He had to have freaked out. You guys, Andrew, the first time that Andrew was on and he was on with Megan Kelly, you'll have to look back at my video, my shorts, and I actually recorded Andrew Colvett. He had said they're processing their guilt. He said guilt. And at the moment he said that, you could see in his face that he realized what he had said. And it wasn't like, oh, shoot, I misspoke. It was like, oh crap, I just gave myself away. And then Megan Kelly has to correct them and say, you mean grief? And he's like, yeah, grief. But almost, and it happens quickly. I do slow it down for you all just to make it, to exaggerate, to really show and highlight that he did that. But he said guilt. And at moment, I had a chill run through my body, through my brain, through me, and I'm like, he is guilty as sin.
Now, of course, fast forward today, and we learn that it's been Andrew Cole that orchestrating all of these attacks, actually got caught red-handed. It's sort of ridiculous.
And
that we could
lying.
just assume that earlier. But like I said, that's not where my brain went in the aftermath of Charlie's assassination. I thought these are good guys who loved Charlie Kirk. But the question I'm now arriving at is why? Why, if it was just a dream, why does it require so much effort on the PR front? Why are we mocking dreams, right? Maybe it wasn't just a dream. In fact, thereafter, what I can tell you now is that 2 people within Andrew's inner circle reached out to me and told me that I should look more into Andrew Colvett, okay? I'm going to tell you another funny story because it now makes me, the irony of it is pretty thick. Back, and this is another story about me and Andrew, back when Charlie was alive and things were great, Andrew called me up. This was actually the end of, I want to say, ahead of AmFest. Yeah, the notorious AmFest that Tucker spoke at. Andrew called me up and he asked me, and I'm not kidding, in earnest, he asked me, "Are you a witch?" I laughed at him on the phone. I was in London and I said, "No,
What?
why? What a ridiculous thing to ask me." And he said, "Well, because we just noticed that when some people attack you, really bad things happen to them." And then he proceeded to tell me, which I did not know, quite horrifically, that Dennis Prager, who had just written this open article about me, and it was not done in a very nice way, had actually fallen, and he was very seriously injured. There was nothing funny about that. And that he was,
You guys, that's not a normal question to ask. You don't normally, unless you're in this world, right, in that kind of type of world, you're not going, are you a witch? That's not normal. So what kind of world does he live in? Do they? Because I know it goes, obviously, I believe, allegedly it goes deeper, and Erica's involved. And obviously, I knew, and Candace didn't think that TPUSA, Andrew Colvett, like she just said, or Erica were involved at all in the beginning, which is why she said, I'm investigating the FBI. Like, she was digging into that. And if my husband or Erica tells me to stop, I'll stop. But the reason she didn't is she's like, oh, wow, it's others. This goes deeper. This is more far stretching than just the FBI. Cisco, unless you're in a cult, you don't think witches are real. Exactly.
having to speak out and type out of his mouth. And then he kind of went backwards and was like, the Daily Wire thing and the Jordan Peterson thing, and like bad things are happening to people after they attack you. So then I realized he was being serious. He was like asking that question seriously. And I remarked to him, no, but I have really bad rebounds, not just from other people, but to me as well. I've explained this to you guys that if I do something bad, I immediately, the karma of it, I would experience. Like if I stole your phone today, it was just sitting on a counter and I stole it from a restaurant, I'd go back home and my house would be burned to the ground. That's my kind of very swift karma hits me fast.
Same.
Anyways, the point is that despite this bizarre question that he asked me about witchcraft, it's him that's the one that's orchestrating all of these attacks. And they have been backfiring on Turning Point USA. And I now understand why exactly it is that he's been leading these attacks. And Liberty University was actually the key. We spoke about the Moonies cult, right? That's what we spoke about on Thursday. I told you guys all about this Korean man Sun Young Moon, who was actually working for the CIA, Assad, while leading effectively what became a religious cult. They were buying up land, buildings, entire blocks, all these different companies, while convincing the masses that it was actually for the Father. Moon had minted himself as a messiah. And then he got involved with Liberty University via Jerry Falwell Sr. And my conclusion of that episode was that the true aim of Turning Point USA Faith was to transform Charlie Kirk into a messiah of sorts, whose image that they could control in his death. And obviously an image
Martyr.
the public couldn't question because of how horrifically sad it was.
Mm-hmm.
We all watched him be assassinated. In fact, that might be the answer to the question, why did they want us to watch it? You wanted to kill Charlie Kirk, but why did you want the entire world to watch it and feel emotionally moved as we have been by this assassination? For good measure, I should now tell you that the Moonies cult was riddled with claims of sexual rituals, physical and psychological abuse, and of course, as we've covered already, financial corruption. So much financial corruption that it actually led to a political assassination in Japan. Remember 2022? Let's go back to 2022 in Japan, because I'll tell you the reason behind this assassination, according to the person who committed it. Do you guys know how Turning Point USA has evolved from a charity asking for a check or asking for a one-time credit card donation to now asking for people to pledge their 401ks, their property?
No.
Basically a means for the elderly they've established to include Turning Point USA in their wills. And doesn't that just feel a little bit icky? Doesn't that just open the door for old people, the elderly, going senile and then maybe accidentally signing away their lives before they die, their estates? Turning Point wants to be included in your grandma's estate planning. I don't like that vibe.
Icky.
Well, that is precisely the reason that the Moonies cult ended up leading to the assassination of the Prime Minister of Japan. The Prime Minister, do you remember him? Shinzo Abe, the longtime Prime Minister of Japan. He was shot and he was killed because a 41-year-old man blamed the Prime Minister, whose family did in fact have long-running ties to the Moonies Church, the Unification Church, as it's called, and whose cabinet was factually closely associated with the Unification Church. He blamed him for promoting that church, which eventually bankrupted his family. This is per the New York Times. They wrote, quote, "In an internal audit, the governing Liberal Democratic Party found that some 180 of its elected lawmakers, or almost half of its entire membership in Japan's parliament, either accepted donations or attended events held by the church and related organizations. That is ringing a bell here." Anyways, back to Abe. Abe's assassination was conducted by a man that was destitute and he was broke because of the Unification Church. They had brainwashed his mother in her old age, brainwashed her into giving the church all of his family's money, and she left her sons, his family, so destitute that he and his siblings often didn't even have enough money to eat, and they became so despondent that his brother committed suicide and he himself had attempted suicide.
Oh, wow.
Again, I'm just telling you what happened factually, obviously not a justification for him to have assassinated the prime minister. But the story here is compelling, and if I'm being honest, that is exactly the strand of ick that I got as I was watching AmFest and this tent.
Yes.
And like the microphone and like put into a case and set. It's like the ghost of Charlie. That's exactly the strand of ick that I got. Like everyone was on stage speaking about the Lord, but no one was actually meaning the Lord. It was instead watching a charismatic cult, people who were trained in tactics of manipulation, preying on weak minds of their followers, people who actually love Charlie Kirk. And of course, that explains the Hollywood tint to it all as well. Anyways, you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with Liberty University? Well, funny story. I was contacted by people who are still at Liberty University, still working in Liberty University's office, and they told me that I had a couple of things wrong. And I will say allegedly here, allegedly. They told me that Jerry Falwell Jr. was also taken down, unfairly taken down is what they said. Essentially, The entire pool boy scandal, that was the sex scandal that took out Jerry Falwell. And the circumstance which Jerry Falwell eventually spoke out about actually himself, confirming this person's side of events, was that his wife was indeed having an affair with the pool boy. And that affair was then used to generate a ton of articles and then used to force his ouster out of the church. And this person claims that it was corrupt pastors, evangelical pastors, that wanted him out and wanted to put an end to the Falkirk Center. Okay, so to back this up, Charlie Kirk and Jerry Falwell came together and established what was the precursor to Turning Point Faith. I was around for that. The aim was to harness the energy of Charlie's brand with the youth and to turn that into ministry for evangelicals and to inspire young people to go to Liberty University, to sign up and to go to Liberty University, because Jerry Falwell Jr. had turned it into a very profitable school. And he had separated it from the church, wanting the finances not to be mingled with the church, which was something that his father had not done. There was no separation between the church and the school when Jerry Falwell Sr. was alive. Well, apparently the pastors who made a fortune while Jerry Falwell Sr. was alive did not like that. They did not like the separation of the church and the school. They wanted to profit from the school's earnings as they had done in the past. Again, I'm going to say allegedly. But this person inside, it got access. So when Charlie Kirk came around and wanted to expand things in a way that would not directly benefit the church, they weren't so keen on that idea. Now, this person that I spoke to is my favorite kind of source because she disagrees with me passionately on the topic of Israel. She said, I have to speak up irrespective of that because what they did to Charlie is wrong. And they're lying about what happened. And I know that something is not right with these pastors because I know these men. So yeah, they established, Jerry Falwell, Charlie Kirk, the Falkirk Center in 2021. And I want you guys to remember that, interestingly enough, when Charlie Kirk was meeting at Liberty University about establishing that Falkirk Center, a certain Johnny Moore inserted himself into the meeting, the planning sesh, so to speak. He just pulled up a chair. Now, you remember I told you about this Johnny Moore character. At this time, in 2021, when he was back on their campus, there was no reason for Johnny to actually be there, even though he kind of grew up on the campus. He did. Johnny had been at that campus since he was 14 years old. We'll get into that. But he had quit his job as the lead pastor of Liberty University back in 2014. And yet here he was, coming up with a reason to be there, snooping into Charlie and the Falkirk Center. And you should know that when Johnny left Liberty University in 2014, he went to Hollywood to start the PR company, the Kairos Company. Andrew Colvett, he was a part of the Kairos Company. You'll recall that. He's Johnny Moore's partner, protege, I don't know what you want to call it. But when that Kairos Company got established, Andrew Colvett was the executive vice president, and he effectively was working for the Kairos Company, Andrew Colvett, and then got hired to be the PR guy for Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. Another interesting point that this source told me is that Johnny Moore, despite going to Hollywood in 2015 to work with, and I should mention here, Mark Burnett, it's who he went to go work for. Mark Burnett is a very big name in reality TV world. If you're in your head like I did immediately when I thought about that, I was like, wait, wasn't Erica on a show randomly? What's the show called, Summer House, in 2019? Interestingly enough, when Mark Burnett took over MGM, became the chairperson of MGM, they did acquire, he owned Summer House. So that's interesting. So there could be a connection there. There could not be one, but I'd be interested to know who her PR person was there. And I will ask how she got on the show. Anyways, back to Andrew Colvett, back to Johnny Moore. Johnny Moore immediately and consistently, despite establishing the Kairos Company, wanted his job back at Liberty University. He wanted to be still a part of Liberty University. And the question is why? Why was the Kairos Company so interested in keeping a leg inside of growing evangelical organizations? Do you remember back when the ADL put me on their list, before I got fired, before the whole...
There's so much money in religion. There's so much money in that.
Christ is King debacle. That's what they put me on the list for. And then a year later, Dr. Jordan Peterson, and a certain Reverend Johnny Moore created a report and doubled down explaining that Christ is King is in fact actually anti-Semitic. And they created this whole video graphic to show that I was a radical for saying Christ is King. Yeah, that's Johnny Moore and his beliefs pretty much in a nutshell. Like, he just does disastrous PR to defend the state of Israel. But boy, is it earning him some money. He serves on the ADL task force. He received the Medal of Valor from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. These are the organizations, by the way, they were born out of Zionist gangs, literal gangs, just to be clear. And they are the very organizations behind the initial attacks on me that have from the beginning been meant to pull me and Charlie apart by drumming up weird anti-Semitism scandals and then having donors demand action. Anyway, I want you to hear Reverend Johnny Moore in his own words so you can catch his drift, catch his vibe, if you will. Take a listen.
So now, I'm involved in the ADL in all kinds of ways. I'm a part of the ADL and Aspen Institute Civil Society Fellowship. I'm on the advisory board for the Aspen Institute and ADL Civil Society Fellowship. It has shown me where we have to keep our we have to keep our eyes on certain trends and certain ideas, and when people say things, what they actually mean. It's been not only an amazing educational experience, a practical way for me to get into this fight against hate for good, but it has also afforded me the opportunity to learn so much along the way and to meet so many different people. And I can tell you, again, I'm not Jewish. I'm Christian. And yet I've just always felt at home, in the ADL community.
I'm not Jewish, but my bank account is.
Now let's hear him, but let's put him in a yarmulke. Take a listen.
I know the state of Israel is strong. It's as strong as it's ever been. The truth is, you don't need us. But what I want you to know is that, need us or not, we are committed to building a great wall of Christian Zionism all over the world to push back the forces of anti-Semitism. But that also includes educating well-meaning Christians on our own history of Christian anti-Semitism.
So who is that guy? Who is Johnny Moore? Where did he come from? The answer is actually quite compelling. He was a kid that grew up in the Lynchburg, Virginia area. And I'm just going to actually read this first sentence from Christianity Today. It says, Johnny Moore was only 14 when he first stayed in the dorms at Liberty University. And since then, he's pretty much remained at the school that Jerry Falwell Sr. founded 41 years ago in Lynchburg, Virginia. Moore and his single mom family briefly lived in the dorms after his parents' divorce and a temporary stretch of homelessness. Okay. Now, somebody that went to school with him verified exactly that. They said he was a kid who grew up outside of Lynchburg. In high school, he was very poor. Very poor. They stressed this. Not a problem, obviously. I was poor too. But they also mentioned that Johnny had some severe daddy issues. I am told directly by someone who went to school with him that he made a name for himself in a long way. He got caught with some porn magazines and was pretty badly made fun of. Okay, kids make mistakes growing up. But it gets more interesting when you learn that suddenly little Johnny fell into a lot of money. He had a male mentor who bought him and everyone in his family, allegedly, brand new cars. So Johnny was po no mo. And this daddy mentor of his is the one that pushed for Jerry Falwell Sr. to give Johnny a position with Liberty University. That man's name is Ron Godwin. It's Johnny's mentor, Ron Godwin, the protege of Sun Myung Moon. The Moonies cult. Sun Myung Moon, who led this Moonies cult, picked Ron Godwin not only just to run the Washington Times for him, which I told you they purchased the Washington Times, but Moon also declared Ron Godwin to be one of his 3 disciples, declaring, and I quote, "You will be like the 3 disciples of Jesus. Each one of you will put yourself in Jesus's position and multiply 3 disciples of your own." So Sun Myung Moon says, I am like Jesus. I feel like I'm blaspheming just saying that. And he picks this Ron Godwin guy, and he says to Ron Godwin, and you will pick 3 disciples of your own. And yeah, we can confirm that looks like one of Godwin's 3 disciples, so to speak, was Johnny Moore, who minted the Kairos company with none other than Andrew Colvett of Turning Point USA. Looks like this. If we look at that in an organization chart, yep, he's a declared disciple, and I guess I should have put technically Johnny beneath him. And Andrew, I'm wondering if Andrew is Johnny Moore's disciple, or I don't know, one of Ron Godwin's 3 disciples. We're not sure. But we can tell you that when Ron Godwin retired from Liberty University in October of 2014, of course, his Johnny boy left too, right? Johnny was his protege. And Johnny, that's when Johnny went to Hollywood. But then all of a sudden he wanted back in at Liberty University, and he was told no repeatedly. And without Daddy Godwin to push through his paperwork this time, there really was no pathway for him to end up back at Liberty until lo and behold, in 2021, as his executive vice president, Mr. Andrew Colvett, is now managing Charlie Kirk, the most unbelievable thing happens. Jerry Falwell gets ousted from Liberty University. Jerry Prevost is named as his successor. And the very first thing that Jerry Prevost does is he fires Charlie Kirk, and he also moves rather immediately to reinstate none other than the sometimes lurking Johnny Moore, paying him, I am told, an absurd amount monthly retainer. And I'll say allegedly here, even though my source comes directly from inside Liberty University. So I feel pretty confident that the information I received is accurate, that they just ousted and they said, Johnny's now back and influential and making money here. So what's the point here? Take me very seriously when I say that Turning Point Faith is problematic. The organization is intended to be the Moonies 2.0. The intention behind the Moonies cult, by the way, in case it's not clear to you, was one world government, achieved through the concept of a unification church. We are all being brought in by the, I guess you could say, their version of the Lord, which is just, I don't know, some CIA clone, somebody that you can get behind. They are repeatedly establishing a messianic figure, and they're expecting people to follow them because how dare you question the Bible? It's all really sick when you think about it. And yeah, Andrew Colvett, I think my dream might have meant something. And that's why you've been completely freaked since. Anyways, we'll be right back after taking a brief break.
So yeah, that's why. And Andrew he's not smart enough to handle this himself. I've seen that. That's what I see. So who else is in it? And we need to connect those people with the people in politics and the FBI and in Utah, because it's not just Andrew. Obviously we know that it's a group of people, but Andrew's right smack in the middle, which is why he he said that. I just have to say, I was the first one to catch that about Andrew Colvett in his interview with Megan. Go back and look at that short where he's saying they're processing their guilt. I think the thumbnail or the cover on that is Andrew Colvett, and it might be Megyn Kelly too. But anyways, that and yeah, the connection with the military guys.
For a while, but you know how much I love Riverbend Ranch steaks. If you haven't,
I looked up Riverbend Ranch steaks. It looks like they'd be really good steaks. I don't know if we need that much meat. I mean, when we had all the kids at home, we probably would have eaten that much meat within 6 months or so. But yeah, I do love red meat though. I do. Anyway, Andrew Colvett.
And
very
overall
interesting.
Health. So if you're looking to make smarter choices for your health this year, Riverbend Ranch is the perfect place to start.
And how much I know this has got to come up. We have to start digging into who Charlie really, really was. And obviously in the end, he wanted to get out and he wanted to change course, but he went in the wrong direction. I want to know how far in the wrong direction and how deep. because it's obvious he did. I don't think he was completely in the dark about some of the things that were going on.
.com today and use the promo code Candace at checkout and you'll get $20 off your first order. Again, that is riverbendranch.com.
I was the first.
Something else that I would like to add here regarding the Moonies cult and this Korean guy that pops onto the scene after the Korean War. That to me feels like it was orchestrated by the CIA. And I can tell you that one of the patterns that I have recognized when I look into these obviously bought and paid for propagandists is that it seems that their grandfathers are all involved in the Korean War. They were all captains or lieutenant colonels in the Korean War. And I keep telling you that it's really important to recognize this strand of military corruption. I think that's the reason that the Moonies cult was established in Korea during that time, and that it is very likely that the entire thing was just a CIA operation, and they are attempting that again via Turning Point Faith, and that's the reason Turning Point USA Faith wants to get into real estate. It feels like they're buying up so much land, and now we're having these fires that are happening all around the world, these natural disasters, and they're trying to tell you that these disasters are natural, when it's pretty apparent they're not.
My guess also is that Turning Point USA, one of their LLCs or any of that, my guess is that they are also they are into the financing of property and home loans. Okay, so I got to say that again. So my guess and my hunch is that not only are they getting into real estate, Turning Point USA, my guess is they're venturing into banking, loans, property and housing loans.
It feels like these are land grabs, and you should be allowed to think through that with what I am telling you. Anyways, avoid the faith grift in
financing, guys.
26. Something that is happening at the same time, obviously, is that all of these people seem to be radically obsessed with Israel. It's another component of this. It's just you can't let Israel go. It's almost as if the Mossad and the CIA, there is no separation between the two. It's why Bibi used to work for the CIA. If you've followed past episodes that we've done, I think we uncovered that during our Epstein series, but don't quote me on that. It feels like that is the strand that explains everything. Like our entire media is bought and paid for. Everything is in service of this foreign country. And they're growing increasingly dangerous, increasingly more radical, increasingly more desperate, despite having the entire United States military at their beck and call and being able to, mass murder American troops to fulfill their interests overseas. They are coming to terms with the fact that they're losing a grip on public opinion, which means a lot, actually. Okay. It's important that the illusion, or it was important that the illusion of their victimhood was kept. I think that's something that Bibi Netanyahu actually underestimated. He underestimated how much of it, he was like the magician who believed in his own magic. He underestimated how much of it was successful in convincing all of us to be Zionists because we were operating under the illusion that they were innocent. And he went too far. He killed too many people. Gaza woke up a lot of people. And now they're pretending that the issue is not what they're doing. It's never what they're actually doing. It's not that they're being accused by their own people of conducting and covering up these sex rituals against children in their forests. It's not because of the fact that tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians have been killed and that they've been intentionally targeted because they're conducting a genocide. The problem is that we're noticing it. And the enemy, therefore, is speech. It's people on a platform speaking about their crimes that are problematic, not the crimes that they are committed. Again, this is the logic of psychopaths. Well, Knesset, it's like their Congress, there was a Likud party representative who got up and gave a speech and declared me and Tucker Carlson to be enemies of the state of Israel.
Did you guys see that today?
We are calling for peace. We are calling for national sovereignty. We are calling for people in Congress to actually serve American interests. And that apparently represents an existential threat to Israel. Here is what he had to say.
Mr. Speaker, members of the Knesset, I stand here in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people, to sound an alarm. We are used to enemies from outside. We fight terror tunnels of Hamas. We fight the ballistic missiles of Iran. But today, I look at the West, our greatest ally, and I see a new enemy rising from within. I am speaking of a poison being sold to the American people as patriotism. I'm speaking of the intellectual vandalism of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Mr. Speaker, let us be clear about what this is. They claim to fight the woke left. They are no different.
Okay. The next move, as I've been saying for months, is taking them off the platform, banning them, just like they did to her in Australia. This is it. And we're seeing the beginnings of the takeover of social media.
Different than the woke left. The radical left tears down the statues of Thomas Jefferson. Tucker Carlson tears down the legacy of Winston Churchill. The radical left says Western civilization is evil. Candace Owens says the roots of our faith are demonic. It is the same sickness. It is the same moral relativism. It is the same hatred of the West dressed up in a different costume.
Yes, to be clear, that is dangerous. The Likud party, and I was quite literally, someone was plotting my murder. Actually, a year from the date that Charlie was murdered on September 10th, someone was plotting my murder and got discovered, and that's still making its way through the courts. These people are calling for violence. That's the implicit threat here. They're all growing increasingly more radical, and they're feeling threatened by speech, which is why I implore all of you, which I see that you are, which is why they feel threatened, to continue to use it and to recognize these people are incredibly dangerous. They are very dangerous. When a person is unwilling to say, here is what I did wrong, especially when that person has murdered tens of thousands of children, what they're doing down in Venezuela, Argentina, when they say the issue is people recognizing what they're doing. Argentina, they are tweeting. I mean, they are in the streets shouting against Zionism. And we're supposed to believe it's because everyone just hates Jews, everyone hates God's chosen people, or because you can no longer convince people that you are murdering, stealing, plundering, raping in the name of the Lord. I think it's the latter, but these people are dangerous. Okay, if anything happens to Tucker Carlson or me, you obviously know that Israel was involved. Obviously, that is unbelievably apparent in their rhetoric. They're name checking us. They're calling us on stage. They're sending their goons out to harass us because we believe in America first and that we should stop getting involved in their interests, and that it is unacceptable, frankly, that our government gives more flack to Tucker Carlson. Our government representatives give more flack to Tucker Carlson than they did to Jeffrey Epstein. That they choose to cover up the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein while pretending that speech in America is what's actually radical, not people who are actually harming children and abusing children sexually. We don't even have a government, in my view. Like, we can't even protect the nation's most innocent. How do we even have a government? I guess that's a larger philosophical question. I do now want to cut to the sad fact that it seems that women in the media have been braver than most men in the media, who seem to just be bending the knee and taking it and calling themselves heroes or tough guys, but not willing to stand up for speech. At the very least, stand up for speech in America. Megyn Kelly sat down and discussed. She's been at length under attacks. They are adding her to their list. It's very obvious because she simply won't bend the knee. She has said nothing wrong. She actually is a Zionist and she supports Israel. But for them, they learn that you must fully allow us to control your speech or we'll attack you. You know, we will assassinate your character, essentially. Assassinating the character comes first. Well, here's what Megyn Kelly opened up to Tucker Carlson about on his show, and here's what she had to say.
I've gotten notes from all of these people, dear friends of mine over the past 2 years. Thank you so much. You make me and my family feel safer. These are pro-Israel Jewish friends of mine in the media. You make me and my family feel safer. I love you. My family loves you. God bless you. These same people have now turned on me, and some are calling me an anti-Semite. Why? What did I say? What did I do? Did I step on a rake and say something super anti-Semitic without realizing it? No, it's because I won't defriend you, and I won't condemn and say that Candace Owens is hateful. They want me really, really badly to condemn Candace Owens. And I'm sorry to break it to them, but I am responsible for what I say, not for what anybody else says. I am not Candace Owens's policeman, And by the way, they're kidding themselves that if just one more voice will say something nasty about Candace, she could finally be controlled. Like, how well has that worked so far? But again, the instinct is to stop her speech, stop it, make her stop it, make Tucker stop saying the things. Well, I have no desire to, and I have no power to. And for that, I was called a coward by Ben Shapiro at the Turning Point event, AmFest, in December, who, by the way, in my last exchange with him, literally said, our friendship, his and mine, is too important to both of us to make it depend on whom else we are friends with and aren't friends with. That is literally the last text I have from Ben Shapiro. The next thing I knew, he was standing on the stage at Turning Point calling me a coward for this very thing.
Listening to that is just so real, and it always starts with something like that, just controlling speech. Like, I have been no fan of Nick Fuentes, but I remember the peer pressure campaign that came from the pro-Israel lobby to compel me to say something about him. Why? Just like she is saying, I'm not his mom. So this was way back when I didn't even know anything about his content, nothing. I knew who he was, but I wasn't watching Nick Fuentes' show. He was kicked off of every platform, and they were just demanding that of me. I remember the text messages from Seth Dillon trying to compel me to say something about Nick Fuentes. And the emotional manipulation of it all. I'm going, why do I have to say something about Nick Fuentes? There's like tons of articles about Nick Fuentes. He's been kicked out of all these events. Why do you need me to personally do it? That's what it's about. It's about making sure that they can control your platform. And I'm sorry, they behave like a gang, as I have expressed many times. That was my experience. You behave like a gang, trying to basically say you're not allowed to have a mic and speak unless you're willing to bend the knee to us. And it's, frankly speaking, wrong. And what I think is more wrong than even that is that so many men have microphones and don't come out and condemn it explicitly, vociferously, name names. Like, you should just, like, obviously recognize, and not even condemning the fact that they're bullying these people, but recognizing rather the threat to our speech. That's real. You purport to say that you care about American values. Okay. People want to get laws passed. People are bullying people, trying to compel them to speech. People are making threats to people's livelihoods. And in some cases, as I believe the case with Charlie Kirk, some people are killed, are actually murdered because they can't get controlled. So if you're going to purport to be a person that cares about American values and purport to care about the fight and recognizing what we are up against, you might want to recognize that Israel is starting to squeeze Americans. And by the way, beyond anybody else, forget the men that have microphones. I actually want to say that our government allowing another government, another party that I'm compelled to give my tax dollars to, I'm compelled to actually give my tax dollars to Israel, allowing them to stand up and declare me an enemy of the state. I have to pay for that?
Right.
Where's J.D. Vance on this? Where's Trump on this? Where are all of the Congress members on this? I don't know. Am I wrong for thinking that should be unacceptable, the way that they speak about us while we have to fund their military exercises all around the world, their military aims all around the world? I mean, it actually drives me totally insane that I have to pay these people my taxes.
We're paying for their intentional oppression. And where they are is they're back there making deals and trying to draft some laws.
I have to go to work. We all have to go to work to support.
Actually, and creating a greater emergency so that they can do it swiftly.
The nation that is demanding that our speech gets suppressed. And we are the last stand. So use your speech while we still have it. Yeah. All right. Top comment from last episode is, I think it's safe to say it is never a good thing when our military is going to other countries to help children. Yes, we talked about that. I created that column. Obviously, I was using Excel sheet in all the wrong ways, but created a clear column to speak about how many times sex trafficking has come up in the story, the history of our military, and I have received since then even more explosive information. And so we're going to get into that later this week. You are absolutely correct. I do not believe that our military is helping children around the world. I do not think that is their explicit aim. In fact, I think it's much darker than that. I think we all sense that. We will take a brief break before I read the rest of your comments.
I mean,
all right, you
like,
guys, you do
like
not
it was
have to
already pointed out, they can't even help the children here or the people here. And they're not interested in it. We are the generators of their wealth. We are the keepers of their wealth and their way of life. And that's all we're here for. While they plan their takeover of the rest of the world. Greenland, you guys, are you keeping an eye on what's going on with Greenland and all of that? Obviously, the Venezuela thing's going down. Big deal. Meanwhile, they're talking about, okay, don't, buy gold, invest in silver, because the dollar's crashing. We're in a free fall, guys. And but the thing is where's the gold? Here, my concern is they're asking people to buy gold, advising that people buy and invest in gold. As we take over other countries, our government takes over other countries and pillages their resources in that way. But as a matter of fact, word is we don't even have all the gold, and nobody knows where the gold is. So that's an illusion too, the gold. So if you guys get a chance to research that, take a look at that, because we've had gold just disappear. Nobody knows where it went. Nobody knows where it is to this day. Anyway, any thoughts? And how far in is Erica? And I wonder if Candace will get into that, of how deep she thinks Erica is, or if Erica's a pawn. I don't believe that she's a pawn at all.
And how it's built and what it stands for. Even small details like the subtle Bible verse tucked inside each box tell you a lot about the intention behind the brand. If you want to learn more, you can find them at
I'm hoping by Friday I will
mimiskincare.com.
have my
If you want to use my code,
my stuff
it's
that I've been
Candace10.
preparing for you guys, ready to present. Yeah, I'm hoping by Friday. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Tell you guys we have new merch on the website. If you would like to support my free speech while we still have it, you can buy a hard copy autographed bundle now available on the shop of Make Him a Sandwich and Blackout, both hand signed by me. Also, check out these new mugs. Girls, can you scroll down there? These are Superfly top. You missed it. You passed it. Okay, there we go. No, back up. Oh, yeah, that one, the black one. Quick, fast, go. How cute are those? I don't know. I just feel like they're super cute. I love these mugs. I actually have one upstairs. I forgot to put it on my desk. Bella, can you make a note for me to get the mug? So that way I don't have that double. The next book club will be January 23rd. Okay, get into your comments. Project Constitution is in the chat. That's a huge donation. Thank you. He's one of the bigger accounts that's been discussing everything Charlie Kirk on X. He writes, Erica is the reason Charlie even got involved in the Falkirk Center, and then the spinoff of Turning Point USA Faith. She was brought in as his handler to move him in that direction. She had him starry-eyed and wrapped around her finger. Go, Max. Love you, Candace. Keep shining the light on evil. Look, I am obviously part of the reason I know everyone's like, oh, why weren't you here? I met my husband, and it was like happily ever after and skipped into the sunset. And I can say, I can pinpoint that, yes, obviously we know that Erica Kirk was a Falkirk fellow. I have not yet heard that she explicitly said you need to establish the Falkirk Center. And I would have to go back and ask people that. I am starting to work through some of the questions that people have about her background, and I've wanted to be very careful because I don't want to make any mistakes, and I want to understand it. I want to understand a lot of the different things that we're all seeing on X about the charities that she was involved in and the overseas stuff. And she says she lived in China, and she says that she lived in Costa Rica, and when and for what. A lot to kind of go through, and it's taking a lot of time, but I do intend on doing an episode dedicated to that in the future. But I also want to give her the opportunity to respond to any questions that I have. Natty,
Do you guys, the level of hate Erica must have for Candace being involved in this and continuing to be involved, and she's got to be afraid.
Cole writes, Candace, I'm constantly finding myself speechless. Wow, this is insane. I'm heartbroken and filled with rage all at the same time. Mostly heartbroken. How does Andrew Colbert sleep at night? We win in the end, but boy, this is hard. Yeah, it is hard. And I feel silly that I didn't realize it was always him, obviously, behind all of these attacks until he got caught red-handed. And then the Johnny Moore thing, like, you should have seen me. Like, my mind was just blown when I figured out after doing this whole episode about the Moonies, and like, why does this feel like the Moonies? And then bam, Johnny Moore,
That's crazy.
Andrew Colvett. Here's Johnny. The Moonies are back, and it's a different name. That's what's happening here. That is obviously what's happening here, and it goes back to the Korean War. That's the American CIA infiltration. It's been a long Monday, so I'm not even going to get you guys ready for forget whether or not 9/11 was a false flag. Are you ready to talk about Pearl Harbor? Are you ready to talk about Pearl Harbor being a false flag? If not, it's okay. We're not going to do it today. We're not going to do it.
She's warming us up, guys.
But the vibes are not vibing in the Pearl Harbor story is what I will say. And Lyndon Baines Johnson was a devilish man throughout, and he was a president later, but we should talk about Lyndon Baines Johnson, the efforts that were in the Vietnam War, and what happened in terms of our military involvement overseas and what the actual aims were of the Vietnam War. There is so much that I could unpack for you guys, starting from Pearl Harbor through to Lyndon Baines Johnson and beyond. But yeah, anyways, we'll get there one day. 6-7 writes, thanks, Candace. Great job. That's a donation from Argentina. I am so sick with what you guys are going through. I was so attacked when I said I just didn't trust that dude. Just didn't trust Milei. Saw some stuff about, like, really his full last name is Milejkovsky, and he looks a little like Bibi Netanyahu. I mean, that's a conspiracy, but hey, it's Monday. We're talking about dreams. We can talk about conspiracies. And I'm a conspiracy girly, and I have the mug to prove it. Victoria Betts writes, go Max, and always all glory to God. You are correct. The One You Feed writes, what the hell is America's law enforcement? Is everybody bought? A lot of people are bought. In fact, I think our military at the top are actually just mercenary squads to protect the gangs. I'm just going on all the conspiracies that I'm feeling in my vibes, but like, I'd like to revisit some of these school shootings. I'm wondering if children were being trafficked and administrators found out and they ended up dead. I've got weird vibes about some of these shootings now, because I do think that in part, when you look at some of these mass shootings, you find out that there's some like government initiative, or I guess the government can benefit by having this particular person dead. How long has that been going on for? I don't know. Obviously not every school shooting, but I have questions. Cami R writes, admire you so much, Candace. I have 2 grown kids, so I appreciate what a warrior you are being, a mama, and bringing us information. God bless you and your family. It's the only way, man. If this really does become one world government, and I do believe that that is the explicit aim,
Yep.
our kids just have no chance. So how are we not brave? Do you love your kids enough to be brave? Do you love your offspring enough to be brave? Do you love your family enough to be brave? I do. Charlie did. Make it known. World writes, anybody, and I mean anybody but the current stooges in Congress, both houses that support the Zionists, do not vote for them. It only encourages them. I totally agree. And I'm not voting until we figure out who killed Charlie Kirk and exactly how it happened. So I'm out. You don't have to talk to me about politics at all. Blakely Webb writes, I just got into it with a lady on Facebook because she was saying that you are stupid for having dreams and sharing them. She then proceeded to tell me about her dreams about you. How do people not realize how ironically stupid they are? That's actually really funny. I dreamed a lot. I'm still having vivid dreams. They're not as, they're not every single night like they were in the beginning, which was really stressful for me. I didn't like it. I did not like it. But I encourage you all to dream, and God speaks to us in our dreams. And actually, in fact, that is biblical. So how about that? Anyway, you guys, we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah. So we had talked about where I had shared, oh goodness, I had shared about my dream on November 24th. I'm going to clean that up. So I talked about my dream last November 2024. It was November 8th is when I journaled about it. I had the dream like 2-3 days before that, I believe. Could have been as much as a week before I wrote it in my journal, before I actually went and read the scripture that the dream was about and then knew what it meant immediately. But I know that this is upon us. All the plans, we're actively in it. It's not like how it's been like, so for all this time, conspiracy theories going on and what's going to happen and what's going to happen and what's going to happen, right? Now it's happening. So we're seeing it play out. So I'm going to redo that story and make it more concise. I'm working on growing and getting better at telling stories. I want to be a really good and clear precise storyteller that gets to the point. So, anyways, you guys will see some improvement on that too. But anyway, do some research. Look up at what this indicates of what they're doing for ICE. I know that they're getting us ready for war, for the next big war, and part of that will be militarizing and deputizing citizens in order to help them advance what they are doing. This is just to get us warmed up and to prepare us for getting used to that. And we shouldn't get used to it, and we should fight it all the way. Oh, thank you. So it is dangerous to talk about all those things. So I am, you guys, I'm hoping to have my thing together by Friday to talk to you guys about all of this stuff some more, because it all bleeds into every aspect of our life and what we're living and seeing play out right now. Apparently the US has got the okay from Colombia to attack the cocaine bases in the mountains. Okay. It's like as soon as like I'm sitting here doing research and learning about one thing, and then these things continue to happen. Like we just keep getting hit with mind bomb after mind bomb after mind bomb. It's an assault. And Aaron Parnassus, I think is how you say his last name, but he's on Instagram, he's on YouTube, he's on Threads, he's on Substack. Anyways, he does political stuff, and he's so good about updating. But this weekend I saw him, and he's like, I know you guys are getting fatigued. They're flooding the zone. They're hitting you with story after story and tragedy and one emergency after another, and they're doing it intentionally so that you go, oh no, I don't want to hear it, because they want to overstimulate your system. And he says, don't do it. Hang in there, hang on, and keep paying attention, because it's more important when that happens. It's more important than ever to stay awake and to keep your eyes open and not want to shut off. If you have to shut off and take a break and take a moment, do that. It's healthy, but we can't go, okay, too much, I'm just gonna unplug, and we can't afford to now with all this stuff happening so quickly. Oh yes, let's go. You were going to change that to alone. We'll see that. We'll look forward to seeing that tomorrow. Oh, that's funny. And Alphabets isn't here today, so if you catch it later, Alphabets, hello, see you next time. Have you seen the YouTube? Yes, I love Lionel Nation. He's really good, and he is a very big support of Candace and free speech and looking into all of this stuff. So yes, I love Lionel Nation. Anyway, okay. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. See you soon. See you next time. Bye-bye.